And I'll preface it by saying this, I think this rule is a good thing. Obviously, we know football is a really violent game, but this is just a measure that's sort of trying to take that next step in eliminating concussions and the likelihood of head trauma, both short-term and long-term. I think there are two really big problems so far with the way the rule has been applied. Number one, and the NFL can't really control this, but it's just that it's different, right? This has been stated time and time again, your head is attached to your upper body and there's nothing you can do to sort of remove it when you're going to tackle. But it's a complete deviation from some of the tackling methods that have not only been used, but have been taught by coaches. Again, I think it's going to take an adjustment period. The other big issue is, I think, consistency. We're asking officials to make these snap-second judgments that really, with the speed and the intensity of the game and the way that it's played, it's basically an almost impossible rule to enforce. And I'll take it a step further. If you look at the offensive line and the defensive line and the way that they initiate contact, you could make the case that you can call a penalty on, using the helmet to initiate contact on basically every single play. So I think the league is going to have to work through some growing pains here. I think they're going to have to continue to be open-minded and consider some tweaks, basically just to get that consistency to where it looks more uniform and players truly understand what is and what isn't a foul. The reaction hasn't been great. I mean, you look at Richard Sherman's Twitter on Sunday and he went off. He called the rule idiotic. He said that basically the NFL would soon be flag football. The interesting thing to me is coaches. So Mike Zimmer basically said that he thought the rule was going to eventually cost people games and their jobs, which Mike Zimmer, one of the best defensive coaches in the NFL, I think that carries a lot of sway. But Bill Belichick, he had some really interesting comments in a radio interview that he did, basically saying that the rule doesn't affect them because they don't teach tackling that way. He said that basically they thought that using the crown of the helmet or any part of the helmet isn't an effective strategy. So I think that's what's going to really be the storyline going forward. It's going to be the coaching staffs that really go that extra step and really focus on teaching the technique the NFL wants. Those are the staffs that I think are going to be successful in avoiding these penalties and potentially costing them games in the future. I'm not saying we should panic. I think that's still premature. But I say that fully knowing that there are going to be calls in the regular season that are going to be questionable, that are going to be debated, and that people are going to have issue with. I think that's just going to be the nature of this penalty. I think the NFL understands that, and I think they're taking the approach that this is maybe short-term pain for long-term gain, where they're going to have to deal with these growing pains, and then eventually they hope that if the rule is enforced and is applied consistently enough, that players will change their habits. That's the key here. The NFL wants to change the habits of using the helmet as a tool in initiating contact. So with that said, I mean, we're talking about a process that really, could take years.